I care about what the price looks like in 2032. The biggest advantage, as far as I can tell, that Bitcoin has is that it's not fiat. You're not losing your time and energy. You don't need to be gaining time and energy at a 10x rate. You don't, or 100x every day. It doesn't need to be doubling every week. Just wait 2 cycles. Just don't do anything. Don't worry about it. Just sit back and just watch. If you're not doing those things and you have a job and you can provide for yourself, then just keep stacking and don't worry about that. I mean, I was truly primed to be a Bitcoiner, I guess, from the day I was born. And when the amount that you can get from mining drops under a whole number, I think that's going to have a significant mental impact on people. No matter what you do, mining-wise, you cannot get more than 1 anymore. You can't. That's it. Those days are gone.
Who you are and especially why you're excited about Bitcoin, just to give the people that are listening some context to who you are.
Sure. How much context do you want? Do you just want a real quick snippet of where I live, generally what country I live in and that kind of thing? Or are you looking for back in 19, I was born, and how far back do you want me to go?
I think the second one is interesting. Start with something 19.
Okay. Well, I was born in the 1980s. I won't be any more specific than that. I grew up between, I was born in Colorado, but I grew up between Southern Arizona and Southern California. My parents split up when I was in my early teens, and so that was partly why we moved around a fair bit. But I would say that my formative years, the years that I can remember my childhood, were primarily in the outskirts of Tucson, Arizona. We lived about 20 miles outside of the city limits. And I had one single day of formal schooling my whole childhood up until high school. Once my parents had divorced, and then I was in Southern California. Then I started going to high school, which I eventually dropped out of. But that one day of schooling, can't remember if it was something that my parents said we should try, or if we, the children, I'm one of multiple siblings. If we, I don't think it was us. I think it was my parents. We got to get these wild children some schooling. I mean, we were feral kids. We were just running around. We had no schooling. The schooling would be things like, let's bake some bread today, and then we're going to go to the store, and if we're going to double the recipe and we have half of a cup, how many cups of whatever, that kind of thing. So we learned practical things, helping my dad in the yard. And when I eventually did go to high school, nothing was difficult. I thought, I was terrified initially, oh my goodness, I'm going to be so stupid and I'm not going to know anything, because I've never done anything like this ever. I mean, I did some kind of book stuff, but not formal. Here's the class and here's the curriculum and here, you got to take a test now. I didn't know. Most of my exposure to that had been a few movies and whatnot, and I didn't even have a TV until I was in my 12 or 13 was when we first got a TV. So I didn't even have that much exposure. I was truly primed to be a Bitcoiner, I guess, from the day I was born. And so what I did do all those years was play outside, tons and tons, play with Legos and read, tons and tons of reading as a kid. And it wasn't like I was reading super advanced encyclopedias or technical books or anything. It was fun books, The Hobbit and later on Harry Potter, that kind of thing, science fiction, fantasy. And then fast forward a good chunk, 10, 20 years or something, I find out about Bitcoin because of the whole GameStop thing that happened. And my wife, I'm married, and I had felt for years that the current monetary system, although we didn't know dick all about it, I couldn't have told you the first thing about fiat money, or, I mean, I knew what stocks were. Generally, you own a piece of the company, kind of, that's the idea. Okay, cool. I'd heard investing is a good idea, but at this point I was in my 30s and I was thinking maybe I missed the train. Maybe, was there any point to even get a 401k? Is I'm kind of screwed, aren't I? And I think that's probably how a lot of people feel. And it was, you hear this a lot, that it's either the number go up aspect or need that drives people to inquire about Bitcoin. And I was naturally curious. And because of the whole GameStop thing happening, I was like, man, maybe I should pay attention to investing. Maybe I haven't missed the train. Maybe the trick is to find the next stock, because I was savvy enough to know that I'd missed the train on GameStop. If it was in the news at this point, then it's done. Like, maybe it'll go up a little bit more, but the huge gain of being in the single digits, climbing out whatever at $4 when Roaring Kitty was talking about it, flying all the way up to 150. Like, I missed that one. I missed the 150x or whatever that is. I guess that's like a 10, yeah, like a 30x. So I missed that one, but maybe I could find another one. Maybe, like, I've never thought that there are, I mean, yes, there are people that are geniuses out there, absolutely, but I have never thought that there are huge swaths of people working on Wall Street that are just so much smarter than me that I can't figure out what they know. Well, come to find out after doing a whole bunch of looking into Wall Street investing, that the people that are at these hedge funds have massive advantages. So even if you are a super smart individual, you cannot beat the algorithms, the AI, the data banks, the connections. They just have such a leg up, and they have so much money to throw around that your $1,000 investment means nothing to them, because here comes $50 billion in an afternoon, and they just throw it over here and then throw it over there because they're making cents on the dollar. It's a completely different game. Anyhow, started learning about Bitcoin because I've been listening to a fair number of podcasts, and it's honestly kind of just dumb luck that I happened to hear the one with, I don't know which one came first, but they were both, I think, within like a month of each other on Lex Friedman's podcast. He had Saifedean Amos and Michael Saylor. And it was Saifedean that really stood out to me of those two, because of just how adamant he was when he talked about things. Like, I mean, you've heard him talk. He gets borderline pissed. Like, how can you not see this? And I was like, okay, this guy really cares about this stuff. I'll read his book. So I read his book. And yeah, here I am, interested in Bitcoin, having worked for Simply Bitcoin for a bit. Now I work for the Mining Disrupt channel, so you can see me over there doing a weekly news recap. And I've toned down in terms of my like evangelism of Bitcoin. I'm kind of at a point now where it's sort of like, hey, I'm more than happy to talk about it if you want to hear about it, but I don't go out like, you are grabbing people by the shoulders. No, you don't understand. Money is evaporating before your very eyes. You've got to put your time and energy into something better than that. They'll get there if they will or they won't.
I think it's a healthy attitude. I think it's first of all, I think it takes time for people to actually understand Bitcoin, and then if you really want to throw them and force them into something, you most likely just push them away even further. Yeah. Anyone who knows anything about sales can probably tell you the same thing. You should be more an educator and not a salesperson, even if you're selling something. Interesting, because like you do the weekly thing, and we sometimes talk so many about news and so many things about like what's going on and what are like the new companies and all those things. And I kind of take a different approach. Like the podcast always comes out like at least a week later, sometimes 2, 3, 4 weeks later. So I don't do news. I don't feel like it adds a whole lot of value to the overall mission. It adds a lot of value if people want to stay on top of Bitcoin, and on a weekly thing of like, oh, like, what happened? It's just not my thing. But there's always interesting topics, interesting narratives going on in the Bitcoin ecosystem, what kind of reflects what's going on with the news. For example, the last few weeks, it seems like every second guest wants to talk about Bitcoin Treasury companies. A year before that, it was ETFs. I think we even had ETFs in our first title. When I looked in the first 2 episodes that we did together, I think the first one had like ETFs in the title somehow. So I guess we talked about that also. And so there's always some kind of narrative or some topic that are the most present currently in the Bitcoin ecosystem. Yeah. And sometimes a personal topic can be overlapping or different to the current community most important topic. Is that for you the same currently, where like the most important topic in Bitcoin for you personally is a different one than the one that you kind of see people are kind of most interested in right now?
Yeah, I would say the things that people are interested in. I mean, what I the way that I know what people are interested in is already a little bit skewed, and I found this out here recently, and you'll get snippets of it every once in a while. Let me explain what I'm talking about. So I get what I know about Bitcoin almost entirely, almost exclusively from X. And I say almost because sometimes I'll go to Google and I'll type in Bitcoin and I'll see some news, but usually the stuff that whatever crypto blog website 123 is talking about is something that I already saw on X a day or two or three ago. I mean, and if it's mainstream news, they might be a week behind the curve and they don't really know what they're talking about. They're just kind of regurgitating something. So X is by far for what I use it for. I mean, it's the main reason that I paid for a check mark and all that, because got so sick of the ads. I use it to find what I'm going to talk about. And I don't really talk about it in a like, oh, here's what's happening, because I assume that most of the people that are watching something Bitcoin related are interested in Bitcoin stuff. And so they probably already know that the White House released this crypto report. So I'm not here to tell you, oh, the White House released a crypto report. And because I don't think anybody that I would tell that to would be like, wait, they did what? Oh, I never knew that. No, they probably already know. So what I try to do is say what I think about it. There was something that I picked up that people really liked when I worked at Simply Bitcoin. They liked me sharing my opinion on something, my take, because everybody, even from the guy that hasn't even heard about Bitcoin, is going to have an opinion. Like you explain to him 5 minutes what you think of it, and he's like, well, here's what I think of that. And it's going to connect to something, and maybe he'll tell you a story about the time that he lived in Canada, whatever. People are interesting. They're buckets of all sorts of crazy stuff. And so I think, and you maybe got, I guess you got a snippet of my background there. It's not a typical upbringing. A lot of people that I know did go to public school. They do have a more, I don't know, traditional life, kind of normal life, I guess, what you'd expect. So having somebody that grew up in the desert and played in the dirt more than he went to school, and because he went to school for one day, it's going to lead to some interesting opinions, I guess. And so, yeah, what people are looking for online and what I talk about are not necessarily the same thing. There's overlap, yeah. And what I meant when I said that there's a disconnect is I saw this in a pretty big way here recently with the whole Sydney Sweeney, the American Eagle thing. She's wearing some jeans and people are like, oh, it's, I don't know. So I got very little of that, but people, I guess, were upset because of they're saying something with eugenics and because they're saying good genes like the GENES, like the genes that make up your body, and it's like I don't know, like a white supremacist thing or something. And then I saw a tweet from some account that showed a picture of her. It was in Times Square. It said, "Look, the American Eagle is doubling down. They put Sydney Sweeney in Times Square. America is healing." And I thought, how many people pumping gas right now or going to get their groceries are even aware that this is a thing at all? Like, and do any of them, like, you have to be one of these perpetually online types that even is aware of this, let alone cares about it. There are millions of people active on X, and many of them just aren't paying attention to that kind of thing. They're doing whatever else. They're making art, sharing photographs. Like, I know that Sydney Sweeney's a person, but I didn't even know anything about this American Eagle thing. So America is healing because of an ad in Times Square. I don't know about all that. It's engagement farming, and it is amusing how much of a disconnect there are between the people that are just kind of stuck in their little echo chambers, and then everything else in the world where people are just going about their day and they don't care about that at all. So I don't think, this is kind of a long way to say, I don't think that there's much benefit in being another channel, another account, another person going, did you hear the White House released a crypto report? there's 10,000 channels, people doing that. Share something interesting about it. Find a single sentence and tell the world what you think about that and why that part is interesting. That's what I find amusing. Like, one of my favorite accounts is Matthew Pines. I don't really care about the UFO stuff that he shares about. That's what yeah, maybe, I don't know. Well, okay, whatever. But he's got really interesting takes on Bitcoin, and I know that he works on the Bitcoin Policy Institute, and so I like that kind of stuff. And he'll point out footnotes on things like that. And it's like, oh, pay attention to this. Like, oh yeah, I'm not going to go read a 166 page document, so I'm glad you're here to point out things like that to me. But yeah, I don't think focusing on the day-to-day news is beneficial for really anybody.
Yeah, that's very true. And it was so present on Twitter. And I think nobody in real life cared about the Sydney Sweeney thing. I mean, it's interesting because there's like two groups of people. There's like those, because American Eagle, I think, has some past, or was it another brand? I don't know, where they featured fatter models and said like, oh, like they have different kind of like beauty standards, and then like, oh, like this. And previously to that, the models were always like how you imagine models to be. And then it's like they tried this woke thing of like, hey, like, okay, let's have some curvy models in there. They all figured out, okay, it doesn't sell. And then they went back to Sydney Sweeney kind of girls. And then they interpret that as it being healing of America. I don't think it's healing of America. I think it's just a company trying things out and trying, hey, do fat models maybe work better than skinny ones? Oh, it doesn't. Yeah, let's go back to Sydney Sweeney.
yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, I mean, I don't even know how much of that is on American Eagle and how much of it is them outsourcing the marketing to some ad agency, and the ad agency goes, well, the woke thing doesn't seem to be working as well as it was whatever years ago, so let's try this. And they're like, okay, yeah, whatever, you're the marketing agency, you're the ones that do the research. We're over here just making jeans and trying to find the cheapest sweatshop laborers we can, so you do whatever you do and we'll throw it up in Times Square. The little kids are going to use their nimble fingers to stitch the pants, no matter who's wearing them, whether they're size 28 or size 5. It doesn't really fucking matter.
Yeah, it's a good thing, because they really, like, I don't know if people really imagine that, but if they are imagining someone at American Eagle sitting there, oh wow, like we have to push white supremacy, we have to push the American spirit. No, they just want to sell jeans. Like, they want to. Let
me tell you, if you wanted to put white supremacy, there's a lot less subtle ways to do it than trying to be sneaky. You just get Hitler, you put perch a bald eagle on his shoulder, an American flag, and he's looking like George Washington, but it's straight up Hitler. And it's like, Hitler likes our pants. It's like, there's no subtlety there. Oh,
Hitler has great jeans.
Yeah. Hey,
don't clip that.
Yeah. Yes, there's some people out there that are like, oh no, look, America's healing. Wait, what? Thank you, Kanye.
An old video of Kanye West that's like 15 years old, where a comedy club had a game that said, did it say, was that they read out a sentence out loud and said, was that sentence either said by Kanye West or by Adolf Hitler? I don't know if you saw that video, but it's really funny.
No, I did not see that.
And it became popular after his whole thing. But yeah, I think the original thing that I asked was like, what is kind of like your more like, what are the topics that you currently see in the Bitcoin thing that kind of like touches you personally, that you see, oh, like that's an interesting topic that maybe people are not talking about, or maybe they are talking about it?
It's interesting. It right now feels very reminiscent of when I first got into Bitcoin, which was in 2002, when Bitcoin was back in it had dropped from the near 70 that it was at. I had seen it. I mean, I knew of Bitcoin then, like just on the periphery, like I'm aware that it's a thing, but I wasn't interested in purchasing it. I was still at that point. I was like, oh, Bitcoin, this coin, that coin, it's all just different versions of the same thing, basically. So if I can't buy a whole Bitcoin, what's even the point? I should just buy a whole Ethereum, right? I mean, come to find out, they're drastically yes. Do they both exist on computers, and are they lines of code? Yes, they have that. There are similarities. Albeit, let's be honest here, but the similarities are so kind of besides the point. It's like saying that, oh, Dell and I don't know, Donald Trump are both humans that live in the United States. Oh, okay, yeah, but they're drastically different people. One is the head of the country, and the other is definitely not. Um, Spoiler: it's not me. I'm not the head of the country, and so I lost my train of thought there. Dang it. I guess where I was going there is, shoot, your question was what interests me. What interests me is how it feels like a bear market. That's where I was going. Thank you, brain. How it feels like we're in a bear market right now when we're not. We're like the general sentiment that I see online is like a restrained. I was going to say restrained hope, but it's not hope. It's like restrained excitement. People aren't going like it's a very different feeling right now than it was, say, near the beginning of the year when we had that run up to 111,000. We're like, oh my gosh, we're breaking all time high. That's never done this before. And the memes and just the overall vibe that I was getting was very euphoric. Oh, look at this, Bitcoin to the moon. This is it. Here we go. $1 million. Next stop. People losing their minds, posting that pump it up video. And then it kind of cooled down and kind of dinked around, went to 103. It just sort of, but it's more or less stayed over 100,000, except for like that 1 week where it dipped back into the 90s there for a little bit. And then here it goes, climbing up to 123, when a new all-time high. And here the euphoria again. And then it cools off, it drops down, and we hear this news about some new China ban or something. China's doing something, drops back down to 113. Still looking pretty good. And now I think as of this morning, it's back up to, at least in USD, back up over 115, 116 or something like that. Yeah, 116 and a half. And yet people, I mean, it's very much that meme where you see like Leonardo DiCaprio, it says 115 yesterday or whatever, and he's looking all like Wolf of Wall Street, losing his mind. And then it says 115 today, and it's from The Revenant. He's like, oh, looking all haggard, like, oh, what have I been through? And yeah, it just reminds me of 3 years ago when people like, oh my goodness, how did we survive this? And are you holding it together? Are we good? Let's try and make some funnies and make the best of it, because we've gone from 70 all the way down to 15, 16, under 20. It's been rough. I think it's really helpful. And this is something that I learned really early in Bitcoin, again and again and again, from people that had been in Bitcoin for a while, like multiple cycles, 8, 10 years, maybe in the very, very beginning. And the thing that I heard over and over and over and over again is just wait 2 cycles. Just don't do anything. Don't worry about it. Just sit back and just watch. And so when I see people getting up in arms and upset, or, oh, I don't know, my net worth, this or that, it's like, what does it matter if you're not selling? Who cares if it went all the way from $100,000 down to $5,000 if you're not doing anything with it? As long as you have income, and this isn't like you're not doing something with your Bitcoin that requires it to have a high price for you to make payments on your mortgage and put food on the table. I don't really know what that would be anyhow. Taking loans out on it or something, or using it as collateral, which is still kind of a market right now. If you're not doing those things and you have a job and you can provide for yourself, then just keep stacking and don't worry about that. That may be the most important lesson that I heard time and time again. So I don't really care what the price of Bitcoin is right now. I have a very specific date that I will start to care about it. And that date isn't for 7 years. I care about what the price looks like in 2032, when the halving, I think, is the most important halving ever. When the subsidy goes from 1 Bitcoin over Bitcoin to under Bitcoin to 0.78125 Bitcoin. I think that'll be the most impactful Bitcoin halving ever, because you hear people constantly talking about get to 1 Bitcoin. You've got to have 1 Bitcoin. People like these whole numbers. And when the amount that you can get from mining drops under a whole number, I think that's going to have a significant mental impact on people. No matter what you do mining wise, you cannot get more than 1 anymore. You can't. That's it. Those days are gone. It's done. And I think that's going to be a wake up call for a lot of people. Not to mention, God knows what happens 7 years from now with Bitcoin. We already have another halving between now and then, so things are going to get weird.
Yeah, and I want to point that out to people because I hear and see that actually a lot, and you capture the sentiment really, really good. I hear it in comments. I hear that, oh, why does Bitcoin crash? Why is Bitcoin so bad performing? And then we look at the chart. We can go back the past 5 days, we are 2% up. Past month, like 8%. Past 6 months, 20%. Year to date, 25%. 1 year, 100%. In 1 year, we doubled. That's phenomenal. If we have in the next 10 years a CAGR, so like yearly growth of Bitcoin of 50%, that would be freaking awesome. 100% is double of that. That would be just like outrageously good. And yeah, 5 year, we almost 10x or around 10x the thing. So there is absolute no sign of a bear market, yet people feel like in a bear market. And I'm like, where the heck? Where does this come from? It's weird.
Yeah, I think people forget that they get into Bitcoin for the money. They stay in for the revolution. That's a good meme. But I think people get greedy, that they forget that the biggest advantage, as far as I can tell, that Bitcoin has is that it's not fiat. You're not losing your time and energy. You don't need to be gaining time and energy at a 10x rate. You don't, or 100x every day. It doesn't need to be doubling every week. Like, that's not necessary. As long as you're not losing time and energy and over, like you just showed, enough time. Yeah, if you look at it, zoom into the day or the week, depending on when you zoom in. Yes, maybe it went down. You're like, oh my goodness, I put my whole paycheck in and it was 115 and it dropped $110,000. Oh my goodness, I should have waited. Just wait another year. Like, do you need that money right now? And if you did, then why didn't you use the cash to pay for the bill that you had to pay? Like, if you don't need it right now, then I don't understand. What's the problem? Like, it's an investment. You sit on it. I think people see these other coins. I hope that it's less of a thing now. I know, like last year and the year before, it was altcoin season. All the people see these things and all the pump fund coins and a coin getting made out of everything you can imagine. This person, that person, this dog, cat, whatever, raindrops, puddles, and it goes up 100,000% or something over the course of a night because one token is a millionth of a penny, and so people buy $2 worth, and suddenly I'm a millionaire. It's like, yeah, but those are scams. That's the problem there. If you want to go and hang out and spend, who knows? I mean, I think I was listening to some podcast talking about what the people are doing behind those other coins. They're just hanging out in these discords and looking. It's just this whole other ecosystem trying to find the next one and get in the second it drops so that they can be there, and then hoping that some well-known person tweets about it so that all these other people get in. It just sounds exhausting. Like, the mental effort to be it, just, and hoping that you don't lose your money, like the people that bought in to the Trump coin. And it's like, do your own research. Don't just hope that somebody's name or the Floyd Mayweather this or the Trump coin, the Melania coin. Like, no, these are bad reasons to get into anything. Like, really, you need to be looking at what you're getting into. This is what people talk about time and time again. This is what Roaring Kitty talked about when he looked at GameStop. Like, you got to do your due diligence. And if you don't know why you're in Bitcoin, well, you might want to fix that, because if you don't know why you're in, then you won't know why you're getting out, except for, well, it went up and now I can go buy 3 pairs of sneakers. So that's good, right? I don't think so, but you do you, guy.
Is that And first of all, I feel like the altcoin season is gone, and we now have the Bitcoin Treasury season.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I actually looked through, Daniel Prince actually made me aware of that there's like almost every day now a new Bitcoin Treasury company coming up. And I do feel there's a lot of value that to what, for example, Strategy did and does. But I don't think there needs to be the 1000s and 2000s treasury companies. And I now see some of the treasury companies. Just looked at one yesterday, and it basically does AI tokenization. So they're putting like AI agents on like blockchain, and it's just a complete shitcoin hole.
Yeah.
But they are now like, hey, we're not only AI and shitcoin hole. Now let's add Bitcoin to the treasury company. Then we can also say we are a Bitcoin treasury company. So I feel like this treasury company thing that started really good with Strategy and what they are doing with financial, like, with giving the financial service to lock capital to unlock that and putting into Bitcoin. At least that's what I feel like they're doing. And now those kind of companies use it as marketing and use it to get a capital on the public market. When I'm like, yeah, this feels like the same scam that altcoins do, just on the public market. Will be interesting how the SEC looks at all of that.
Yeah, I don't think that the world needs more Bitcoin treasury companies, really. I think what the world needs more of when it comes to companies and Bitcoin is companies that understand, just like it needs more people, individuals. You need more companies that put Bitcoin on their balance sheet, not because they're going to try to copy the Seyr play, but because they want to preserve their company. They go, hey, we've got a good thing over here. We were a mom and pop business and we started making some widget that is popular for this industry. We're not a billion trillion dollar company. We're not the next Apple. We've never aimed to be. We're just doing our thing. Like there's a company here in Washington somewhere. I live in the Pacific Northwest. I live in Washington, and there's a company. I'm not sure exactly where it's at, but when I learned about this, I was like, obviously that's a company. You know, the little bread clips, they're just like maybe, I don't know if you have these where you live, but it's just like a little piece of plastic with like a slit and a hole in it. It's like it's a tiny little bread clip. That's what it's called. It's just a piece of stiff plastic. So when you twist the bag up of bread, it's a little thing that holds the twist in place. It's kind of like a twist tie, but it's just a single piece of plastic. That's all they make. They've been making them for like 50 years. That's all they do. They just make these things. And every bread bag that you see ever in the US has one of these on it. It's just how it's held closed so the air doesn't get to it. And if they're saving, I have no idea. I'm just mentioning this because they make a thing that lots and lots and lots of other companies use. And so it would make sense if they started putting some amount of their cash, if assuming they have some, into Bitcoin, because they go, hey, we see what's happening here. I think I've said this and I've said it and I've said it again, and I'll say it another 100 times. Am I convinced that Bitcoin is like Max Kaiser and people say like, oh, the solution to all of humanity's ailments? You know what? I don't know. But I do know, and I am utterly convinced that fiat is a problem and that people are going to keep on printing that. And politicians that are in control of the money printer will abuse that power, because that has happened throughout history all the time since ever. People are greedy. People want to buy things. And so they press the button and they get more money and they go and buy the things that they want. So I don't have any hesitation to say that that will always happen. That will continue to happen all the time, forever. Assuming that governments don't get on a Bitcoin standard or something. But this might be controversial to say, but look at what happened in El Salvador. Those people championing Nayib Bukele, and now he's going to be in power for God knows how long. That's not how you do democracy. That's not how you do. You don't like no term limits. You can just be in power for however long. Look, you have to pass the reins off and go, I trust that the next person will fulfill the will of the people and will do things in a way that's good. But yeah, making sure that you just stay in power indefinitely is not the way to do that. That is not a good thing. You have to make yourself vulnerable and go, look, maybe the country will go in a different direction without me, but that's okay. Change is okay. Trying to
He
hold
has
on to the
no
moments that pass is not good.
he has no term limits now. Like I haven't
Something like that. Yeah, there's
interesting.
well, it's not no term limits. I think it's some limit was lifted. Like I think it was 3-year cycles, and I think it's now 6. And there's no re-election limits or something. Basically, he can stay in power indefinitely now. Like there was some little goofy thing that they were doing before where a president couldn't be reelected, and so 6 months before reelection, he would pass the reins off to the vice president, knowing that it was just like some loophole, dumb nonsense. And so that's how he got reelected. I think once, maybe twice now, but due to people like, oh well, he didn't. I saw that. I know very, very little about this, but what I did see was something like, well, it wasn't Nayib Bukele that passed this. He didn't impose it. It was the Senate, or their version of whatever it is that they have down there. It was like the politicians under him. It's like, yeah, but how did they get into power? Were they appointed by him? With like, I don't know. When I see an approval rate of like 95% or something, and I see swaths of the army patrolling the streets, like, yeah, I mean, it's okay. It's safer. You don't have the gangs, and that's good. And the murder rate is down. That's good. Yes, these are good things, but I don't know, at what cost? I saw a post recently from somebody saying that he went down there thinking that it was great and paying attention to all these people talking about how wonderful it was, and it's the Bitcoin promised land, and he went down there and was like, no, that's not true. It's a bunch of fluff. It's not. It's fiat. It's just they're just took advantage of this thing, this Bitcoin thing. It's all for show. I don't know. I haven't been there, so I don't know. I'm getting all this from the internet, and the internet does not know what it's talking about half the time. I saw a post in regards to something that happened very close to me, like not like in a personal sense, in a physical sense. They showed a picture of a place that I know very well, and they're like, look, nobody's here. There's no tour. There's nothing's happening here. And I drove by that exact place like within 2 days, and that was not the case at all, not even a little bit. And I was like, I don't know when they took that picture. Could have been months ago. Could have been this, but it's not even true. Like I was just there. I drive by it on my way to work. What are you talking about? It's like, I don't know what to believe online anymore.
The first time I ever made any money, I got myself from that money a watch. And ever since then, I collect timepieces to remember times where I achieved some milestone. That's why I got the Bitcoin 2025 edition when I went to my first ever American Bitcoin conference. So for me, the Bitcoin watches from Coin Vigilante represents the time that we are living in. For every person that wears a Bitcoin watch, I know they are representing sound money to the outside world. Make sure to check out those amazing Coin Vigilante timepieces down in the descriptions. I love those watches so much. I know how big of a hurdle it can be to have self-custody, but it's so freaking important to make that first step. We have to make sure it's as easy and simple as possible. And that's exactly what BitBox did. BitBox created the simplest and the easiest hardware wallet to use to get into self-custody. So get yourself a BitBox down from the link in the description. And when you use code Robin, you even get a 5% discount. The most important thing for your Bitcoin journey is not buying Bitcoin, but it's how to keep them. And yes, you have maybe the right tools, but how do you actually go ahead and stick it all together so it's the most secure for you personally? Self-custody is a deeply personalized journey. journey. And the Bitcoin way is helping you exactly finding that correct setup for you personally. They are also helping you with securing your own cybersecurity. And if you want to go one step above all that, you can even get a consultation for a Plan B residency. Go to thebitcoinway.com/Robin and you will get a 30-minute free consultation. I want to tell you about something very special to me. It's called Microseed. If you hold your Bitcoin in self-custody, and you should, you know how critical it is to secure your seed phrase. You should not have them on paper. You should not have them on anything else than titanium. With Microseed, you can engrave your 12 or 24 word seed phrase, the entire seed phrase, onto a 1-inch small washer. Yes, just one washer. All 24 words on that one washer. You can hide that thing everywhere. And even better, you don't need to buy a new kit every time you have to get a new wallet. You can make unlimited backups because Microseed is not selling the washer. Microseed is selling the device that stamps the washer. So you get the full kit with the device, with the washers, with the hammer, with everything you need to get started today. And you can make with that unlimited amount of backups. Go now to microseed.io. Again, that's microseed.io to get your last backup tool you ever need. I haven't heard about it, Bukele, but I just asked my favorite AI tool, ChatGPT, currently, and yeah, it's true. Like since 31st of July, he extended the presidential terms from 5 to 6 years, and he eliminated runoff elections, which means he can be re-elected forever, and he can basically now be just re-elected since the end of time. And if you have 97% of approval rate, however you measure that, I don't have no clue how he does that. He's basically in power forever, and that's not the Bitcoin way. Like that's definitely not something that you want to see in a Bitcoin country. I mean, there's Bitcoiners saying like, oh, what will happen if there's someone else than Bukele coming in? And I'm always saying, then we see if it outlives him and if it actually has, because the whole El Salvador thing just started. Like I did not expect El Salvador to turn on the switch 2021 and be the Bitcoin country. This needs decades of work, and like it needs time. I was there, and I was like, I like the country, I like the people, really, really friendly people. I felt safe everywhere, but at the same time, outside of the Bitcoin conference venues, I could never pay with Bitcoin. Like not a single thing. I purposely did not went to the Bitcoin venue, hotels, recommended things, Bitcoin, Airbnb thing. No, I just went on Airbnb and just booked one Airbnb that I liked outside of Bitcoin context. There, obviously, with Airbnb, I cannot pay with Bitcoin, but that's an Airbnb thing, not an El Salvador thing. Then I just went outside and like, hey, I want to have breakfast. Oh, there's some stand there. Oh, can I pay with Bitcoin here? No. What is Bitcoin? Like, okay, yeah, like it's not everyone accepts it, I guess. But then I was like, okay, let's go to a little bit of a more like a bigger chain, like a bigger thing that looks a little bit more professional. This was just some street vendor.
Right. Okay.
Can I pay with Bitcoin here? No, you can pay with Apple Card. You can pay with everything that you can pay everywhere, with a credit card, Apple Pay, all those things. But no, not Bitcoin. Sorry. I went to the mountain to an basically like it's a tourist attraction in San Salvador. I was like, yeah, that's definitely like it's a tourist attraction. Like the government says you have to accept Bitcoin. Every vendor, a tourist attraction in the main city of El Salvador, they have to use Bitcoin, right? Like, no. And I was like, I can only get in with cash, like not even credit card. And I was like, okay. And she's like, yeah, it's fine. Just go in. Like you don't have to pay. And I was like, oh, can I donate Bitcoin? Like you let me in for free. Can I like show you how you open a Bitcoin wallet and just give you it was $2. Like it was not a lot.
Yeah.
Can I just give you the $2 in Bitcoin? And she's like, no. So the Bitcoin adoption in El Salvador, I was in November, so it's almost a year now out, was not at all mainstream there, not even close. But then I hear things like that, like presidents that extend their terms and lift restrictions how often they can run. That's usually not the presidents I want. And I have no clue about his political stance. Like I have no clue. Like I'm not in El Salvador. I don't listen to the news like on a daily basis, not at all. So I don't want to judge him. But if I just hear that isolated, just not like it's a small yellow flag in my opinion.
Yeah. I saw somebody tweeting about that when the news broke, and somebody, and I think he was retweeting something like, I told you this some time ago, and people are like, how'd you know? He's like, you just look at the history of Latin America, and it's just dictator after dictator in basically every one of the countries down there. There's the exceptions, yeah, but you just look at history, and that's all you have to do with fiat too. It's like, when has a government ever gotten its act together and gone, hey, all right, let's be fiscally responsible? I don't know. Has it? Maybe, but the exception proves the rule that is not how it works. I mean, the amount that America is in debt is it'll be $40 trillion before the next presidential election. So whatever that means, it's just this number that keeps on going up.
Was that the tweet that you mentioned right before we started recording, or was there something else you wanted to show me?
Oh, no, it was something else. Totally different. Yeah, this tweet is from Bajali. I don't know how to share my screen. How do I do that?
There's a share.
There it is.
Share button. If it's not working, you can just send it to me and I share it.
There we go. That. Okay, so this one from Bajali, it says 0% AI is slow, but 100% AI is slop. So the optimal amount of AI is actually between 0 and 100%. The exact figure varies by situation, but just the idea that 0 and 100% are both suboptimal is useful. It's the Laffer curve. I don't know what that is, but for AI. Okay. So the reason this stood out to me is I think I hinted at this thing that I was working on last time we talked. I think it was really brief. I said that I was working on some project, but I wasn't going to say more at the time. Maybe I told you off air. I'm happy to talk about it now. And what that thing is I've looked, and I don't think anybody's done this. I'm writing a fiction book about Bitcoin for Bitcoiners. There have been multiple books. There was one called The Atlas Maneuver. Natalie Burnell interviewed the author of that, and it's a thriller. It's one of a series. He's got this character. I forget Steve Barry, I think is the author's name, and he's got this character called Cotton Malone. Very much like Jack Reacher, lone wolf kind of guy, goes on solving different things. It's kind of thriller, Jason Bourne type of thing. And that book, I listened to most of it, is very much full. The Bitcoin aspect could have been anything, really. It starts out talking about how in World War II, the Japanese hid all this gold on these islands. And then as time went on, they realized that a better investment, or that they could move across borders at the speed of lightning, would be Bitcoin. And it reveals that the creator of Bitcoin is this woman, and she's like some super smart person. And she's got the secrets of the Atlas Maneuver. And okay, whatever, it's fine. But there is paragraphs at various points that'll explain what the blockchain is and tell you what mining is, just kind of briefly. It's like all these computers. So it's very much a book for people that don't know what Bitcoin is. There's another one by an author, CJ something another. Again, it's a character. He's a Wyoming sheriff, park ranger, something another, and he's out there investigating some missing person or something or another, and he comes across a facility where these people are clandestinely mining Bitcoin out on a national park, and he's got to solve some mystery here. But it's another MacGuffin where it could have been anything. It could have been oil. It could have been a underground poker ring or something. It's just a thing because, hey, Bitcoin is a thing I can slap on the back of the cover, and people are like, oh, well, that's a thing that exists. Let me read this story about Bitcoin. It's not really about Bitcoin. This novel that I'm writing is for Bitcoiners. So I don't spend any time explaining what the blockchain is or what mining is. If you don't know, then that's on you. If you want to figure it out, then go figure it out. But it's specifically for Bitcoiners. And what does this have to do with AI? Well, I had written a book completely unrelated to Bitcoin, a little fantasy type thing, 2 years ago, and I thought this thing's pretty decent. I think I've got something here. So I sent it off to an editor to do what's called a manuscript evaluation. The editor will go through, look at it, and say if it's ready or not for publishing. Here's some things that need fixing. Here's what you could tweak. Here's the strengths and weaknesses. And there was a lot of weaknesses, way more than strengths. It was not ready for publishing, not even close. And the strengths are things that I'd heard before. I write good dialogue. People like the dialogue. It flows naturally. It sounds like dialogue. But the number one problem that I had was that there wasn't really a story. It was just kind of a series of things happening and the characters going here, doing this and that. And there wasn't really much structure or plot. It was kind of like, okay, what are we doing here? And because I had paid for this, and because it was coming from a professional editor, I kind of had to listen to it. I couldn't just go like, well, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm a genius and you just don't understand my creative process. I had to, well, I paid for this. So yeah. And I'm intelligent enough to know and knew my story well enough, or what wasn't really a story, to go, yeah, you got some good points here. Well, this connects to AI because after I'd written my Bitcoin story, once again, in up my own butt, I thought, I've got something here. This is good. Bitcoin will love this. And I thought, well, let me try something here. Let me give this to Grok and see what Grok thinks. Let me see. And so I told it, I said, give me a full detailed manuscript evaluation, just like I'd paid that editor for, and tell me what you think. Well, Grok gave me much of the same feedback that I had gotten from that editor for this story. You don't really have much of a plot here. There's a lot of problems here. It just kind of wanders around. Things are happening. The character doesn't have clear motivations. Why is this happening? Question. Like, oh, same thing again. And I realized I don't really know how to tell a story all that well. I want to, and I've tried, but I have written in what Brandon Sanderson, the author of Mistborn and a lot of other things, calls a discovery writer, which is you get an idea and you sit down and you start typing. Whoa, guy goes here and it's like, okay, whoa, hold on. Do you have a plot? What's a what? No, and then this happened and that happens. Okay, well, you're trying to find the story by just pounding words out onto a page, and you're not really going to get there. Maybe you will, just by dumb, stupid luck. But that's like being a sculptor and having a giant piece of marble in front of you and be like, I'm just going to start smacking it and maybe I'll discover what I want to make. It's like, whoa, wouldn't it be a lot better to go, I want to carve a swan out of this, or a toadstool with a gnome on, whatever the thing is that you want to create. It is a lot better to have a clear idea of where you're going. I mean, this is true of so many different things. Maybe not a conversation. Maybe with a conversation, you just go, well, let's see where this goes. But even there, it might be a good idea to have some points that you want to hit. And so over the past year-ish, I've been trying to figure out why my storytelling is not as good as it could be and how to fix that. And after a fair bit of work, I am now working on a new version of that Bitcoin story and hope to have it done by the end of the year. And maybe we can talk again about it. And what I plan to do is send the first 25% of it, because I narrate stuff as well, primarily Warhammer 40K stories. But I've been trying to get to a point where I can narrate really well, like on a professional level, my own stories, because I want to write and narrate my own stuff. And so what I plan to do is, once I have most of it, if not all of it done, is send you and plenty of other people the first 25% and go, what do you think? Would you want, given that you've heard the first quarter of this, do you want to hear more? Or you're like, didn't really grab me. What do you think of this? And yeah, maybe we can talk again and you can let me know what you think of it and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. I would love that. Just a small thing. The Laffer curve was all actually a point of discussion already on the podcast. So I just want to, for the few people that might like don't know what this means. It's basically comes. So I know it from the tax world, and there's this relationship between the tax revenue and the tax rate. Obviously, if you have 0% tax rate, you don't get any tax revenue. If you have 100% tax rate, you also don't get any revenue because nobody will pay you. And there's in the Laffer curve this perfect point of how much tax rate can you increase to have the maximum tax revenue. In a sense where if you raise the tax rate above that Laffer curve point, you actually decrease revenue of your country, of your tax revenue, because people are either cheating or just moving out to a different country. And the same with AI, of like, if you just like use AI too much, or it's like you lose the human touch on things, or you kind of just like sloppy with it, there's probably a point, and that's kind of what he's suggesting, that after that point, it does not really make sense to use more AI. You have to get human touch involved in that. So I don't know if that same thing that with tax revenue is kind of the same thing also with AI, but just so people understand what the Laffer curve is. And I love that you're writing. Like I went myself through the journey of trying to write a book, and I learned very quickly that I'm super bad in it. Like super, super bad, but I'm just doing it anyways. I probably never publish anything, but I'm now just trying to get in the habit of writing more because it helps me to find my own thoughts better, to think better, and just writing things down makes it easier for me to explain my thoughts. I don't do fiction, like no novels or anything like that. So like, that would be a whole nother. I think writing about a novel of fiction is probably like 10x or 100x harder than just writing about what Bitcoin is and why it's important, because there you can go off something. And if you're having a fiction, you're like, everything happens in your head. Like you have to make things up. And like, I'm super bad in this. But yeah, like this was just, I just wanted to throw that Laffer curve thing in there.
Yeah, real quick on that. I kind of didn't mention this, but I've been using AI to help me structure the story. And what I realize is that AI it's not very good at that. It's good at compiling things and kind of helping you sort and kind of organize your thoughts, but it is not good at coming up and telling you. It's not at all even like talking to somebody that's just kind of an idiot across the table and be like, well, what do you think about this? What do you think these characters should do? It only regurgitates the things that you've given it. So if I say, hey, I need some more motivations for these characters, it'll just tell me, well, what you need to find is more motivation for the characters. Like, you're not giving me anything new. And so AI is good for certain things, but it's not good for other things. And so there's currently, I imagine this will change as time goes on, but currently there's still very much a need for, kind of as you pointed to there, the human element to go, okay, thank you for putting this stuff in a more organized form here, but you clearly don't know what makes a good story. You're just pulling from Reddit posts and Quora question answers and doing your best to put something together here. But I'm going to have to go into my own brain and my experience of what I've read and seen on movies to kind of figure out why this isn't working. You're not really helping me right now.
I get that. It's sometimes like, I think people that don't use AI, like they will be in a very bad, like they will miss out on a lot of opportunity and productiveness that they have in themselves. But you also should not get in that thing where you let something be done 100% by AI, but then miss out on the quality of that whatever you're producing, and so you always need that like last touch or like that human intuition to it. Maybe AI gets so good that you don't need that. Like maybe AI gets so good that that Laffer curve like is at 100%, and if you use more AI, it's actually getting better. I don't know. I'm not an expert on that. I just think use it and use it wisely and learn how to grasp it. And I think more people should use it, not less. So I think like most people are not aware of it. The same with Bitcoin. I think more people should actually go ahead and use Bitcoin and use AI and use technology. I think most people are just like completely unaware of what they can do with those technologies. And yeah, that's super interesting.
Yeah, it's helpful for what it's helpful, but I think I was thinking like, here's an area where I don't think AI would help you at all, maybe ever. If you're a comedian, how is it going to tell you what joke is good and why it's good for this audience, but not for that audience? How is it going to be able to read a room on the night and go, yeah, that joke will work tonight, but last night it wasn't going to work because of like, no, that's really only something that a comedian can do. Maybe in the distant future, you have some AR glasses and it can tell you, yes, pull out joke version of the dog and the trash can joke, version 26. And that one will work tonight, given what I'm determining from reading through your glasses and mapping all the people's faces and telling you to do that joke. Maybe I'm not sure that I really want to live in that world. That sounds very dystopian, but
and comedians and from what I understand, they are doing a lot of testing. Like they're doing a lot of material and testing it with smaller crowds. And then the jokes and the stories that always work with a lot of crowds, then those get condensed into like one program that then is on Netflix. And you watch the Netflix program like 1 hour and you're shot like, shit, how is he so good? Yeah,
right.
Because he went through like hundreds of hours of testing materials in smaller pubs and smaller comedy clubs, and he picked out the best things and put it in the right order, and you just like laugh so good. So like not even comedians can do that. Like they just go through testing phases.
Yeah.
So AI will do a horrible job at that without testing.
Yeah, if you go to AI and be like, give me a really good joke that's going to kill tomorrow in Cincinnati, it'll just be like, knock, knock, who's the goose? It's like, what?
Let's do that live. Give me a great Bitcoin joke.
Oh boy.
Let's see. Do you think there's something good? Oh gosh.
What did you use ChatGPT? I asked Grok here.
Okay, I just used. Let's see which one gets a better joke, ChatGPT or Grok. The joke from ChatGPT: why don't Bitcoiners tell good jokes? Because the punchline is always hard to explain and takes 10 minutes to confirm.
Okay, I think Grok, I don't know. This is Grok's joke. I said, give me a great Bitcoin joke. And it just said, why did the Bitcoin investor go to therapy? Because he had too many ups and downs.
That's way better. Like Grok has definitely a better one than ChatGPT. Yeah, but comedy is something like it's hard to, like, sometimes the same joke in a different situation is just not funny. You know, it's so much about situation and where and how you tell it. Like even how you tell it makes a whole different thing. So,
and I think not only that, but the framing. Like you could have a joke that works terribly on its own, but given the joke that you said before, leading into that one, kind of setting it up for a larger joke. Like there's a meta thing. Like that, it's a whole thing that I've listened to a lot of comedy podcasts, so I've heard people talking about this a little bit, but it's a whole realm that I don't know enough about, but I know enough to tell you that Grok isn't going to be the next great comedian tomorrow.
But I think a comedian can use Grok to make his jokes, like to get more ideas and to make his jokes maybe better. But possibly, he has, he has the comedian has to be super involved. He cannot just say, "Hey, give me 10 jokes." No, like you you use AI as a tool, like a computer or Google or fire or knife, to make your life easier and to
Yeah, I
make
think
the
fire or
quality
knife is
better.
a good way to put it. It's like a refinement thing. You go, hey, I'm working on this idea. It can help you kind of sort things out, kind of like I was saying, organize. So if you know that you've got all these components, you're like, what would make sense in ordering it? And it can just take your text and be like, hey, let's order it in this way, and this way, and this way, and this way. And you're like, oh, that number two, that I think there's something there. And then you've got to do this refinement. There's got to be discernment on your end. It is not an end all be all oracle that you just go, like you said, hey, Grok or Chat GPT, give me funny. And it's just like, here you go. Like, oh, there we go. Netflix special. Here I come. It's like, no, that's not happening.
That's very true. Yeah. Do you think AI has any implications on Bitcoin?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, of course. I think I am, well, I don't know. I guess there's, it's more of a hope. I'm hoping that it will allow people I'm hoping it will lead to more freedom, and that we do have a world in the not so distant future where tasks like lawyering and accounting, all these kind of soul sucking jobs. I mean, maybe some people enjoy those, but I don't know that a lot of people really enjoy that kind of thing. So I'm hoping that if AI can do it, and the people that don't really enjoy that and would rather spend their time writing or drawing or sculpting or whatever, can go, hey, I can be, instead of spending 40 hours in the office looking over legal contracts, I can just have my AI do it, and I can just double check the work. And so I can do 40 hours of work inside of a day, and just, I get maybe even more because my AI is sorting through it all and doing the bulk of the work, and I'm just double checking and making sure and kind of doing the final signing on it. And then I can spend the rest of my time doing the thing that I actually care about, like spending time with my family or working on these other creative things. So I'm hoping more of that kind of thing happens. Do I see a world where AI is roaming around and parking cars for us and being valets because there's Optimus robots in every household and every grocery store? Sure, I can imagine that. I don't think it's right around the corner. I don't have the timeline that Elon and certain other people do. Like, there's some people that I've talked to, like, oh yeah, we're going to see that inside of 10 years. Like, yeah, maybe. I don't think so. And then they're asking for tips in Bitcoin and stuff. Yeah, maybe. I certainly think that there's a strong possibility of me seeing that inside my lifetime, assuming I live to 70, 80, 90. Yeah, sure. I mean, man, I'll tell you what, looking at a magazine, I got some magazines at an estate sale here recently, just to kind of like a snapshot in time. It hits you different when you see ads from the 70s and 80s and the prices on those things in a way that's different than just seeing a tweet where somebody shows you a picture of a thing, because you're holding a physical thing in your hand. You're like, wow, here it is, an ad for a car in the mid 70s that is $2,500. Good luck finding a car that's brand new for $2,500 today. I mean, the same comparable car is probably more than 10 times that. So do I think that technology will continue to improve and improve people's lives and increase productivity? I hope so. It seems to have. I just hope that the amount of time that it allows people to do the things that they actually care about, which usually isn't filing paper or double checking data and whatnot. I hope that we see more of that. But I don't know. You hear some of these things, and people are like, oh, AI is going to take over the world by the end of this year, and this year was supposed to be the year of the AI agents and every customer service. The no more waiting on calls for somebody to get there and talking to somebody from India that barely speaks the language, and just like, no, none of that's changed. It's still the same. So I don't know. It seems like the promised world that's always a year away is more like 10 away. But yet other things happen. Man, life's weird. I don't know. I don't know.
I use AI now as my private tax consultant because my company structures get a little bit more difficult now. I have equity in Bitcoin companies and all that kind of shit, and so my small like podcast thing is no longer like like it was just like very rudimentary, and I was like, yeah, like that shit. We have to improve things. And I was like, okay, how the heck should I do that? And I didn't want to pay like tax consultant like 50, 100 or $200 an hour to explain me what to do. So what I did is like, hey, ChatGPT, like how the heck should I structure that and do that, and where should I go, and how does this working, and what are the implications of that, and all those things. And after like, I don't know, 2-3 hours working with ChatGPT together, I figured out a plan. And I was like, okay, let's go to the tax consultant that I have and ask him, oh, what do you think? And I was like, he just told me exactly what ChatGPT told me for free. Literally. Like it was like almost the same thing. And nowadays, and Seyr actually talked about that in Vegas when he was on stage. Nowadays, I ask AI first, create a plan, and then give it to the tax consultant to just do the plan, because I want to have his verification on that, so I don't get in trouble with the authorities. Like I don't want to. Oh, ChatGPT told me. So I want to have some approval of like the tax guy of it. Seyr also talked about that in Vegas, where he said everything that I do before I give it to my lawyers, I do the plan, and then I just go to my lawyers and say, do that plan. It's no longer sitting in meetings for weeks and on ends and figuring out what the plan is. No, I figure out the plan with AI and then just put it to the people that execute it. And then like, oh, how long till the execution can also be managed by AI? Like, I don't know. Like that is a very hard thing to predict. But we already have assistants that are super intelligent, and then you can use to sort things and give you information and get through things like that. Like that's a super easy, super easy task for like tax things. Like I don't want to deal with that. Like I'm very much like anti, like I don't want to structure things, but I know there's an advantage of structuring it the nice way. I've learned about value added tax, and because I learned about that, I got like 20% more on certain invoices, and nobody really had to pay more, just that I got 20% more because there's like a checkbox you have to fill. And I'm like, oh, that's real value I can get if I know those things. But if I just ask AI, like they will tell me, and then I have a tax consultant that just like approves things and is the execution of that.
Yeah, that makes me think that once people start to appreciate the value of I was about to say Bitcoin, but of AI, I think that it has a very real potential of being the world's best translator. And I don't mean in the sense of, oh, you speak Chinese, I speak English, here, let's speak to each other through this AI. Yeah, that's obvious, an obvious implication of what AI can do. I mean, talking between somebody that doesn't speak the language of this various, for example, if a homeowner knows that he wants an addition to his house, but he does not know the lingo of the architect or the general contractor, he's going to be like, so he's going to spend who knows how much money on all of those initial meetings of like, okay, what's it going to look like? Well, we could do this, and we've got this, and let's get out the book and look at all these examples of what we've done in the past. Like, okay, well, I don't really like any of those. I was really hoping for and you're going to have who knows how much money spent on just all of these consultation meetings and trying to figure out what it is you want to do in the first place. You could do all of that with AI. Maybe not right now. I don't know if one exists, but if not now, probably pretty soon. You get out your phone, you take some pictures, you get some video, and then it can just, you put on some augmented reality, like what if it looks like this? And it can map up a whole thing, and we would need this, and given this the area and the weather and the you'd want to use these materials and this kind of paint, and just give the whole thing. And then you go to a general contractor and you go, hey, can you do this? And the general contractor's like, this is a complete plan, ready to go. All I have to do is bring my guys and the materials that are laid out per itemized thing, and we just do it. And we saved ourselves a week of trying to just get on the same page with the dumb homeowner that has a lot of money but doesn't know what he's talking about when it comes to building things. Here it is, plan, boom, and I make it happen. So I think that kind of thing could be a massive, massive boon, because I work in a field where people, a lot of what I do is trying to figure out what in the hell the person is talking about. Like what is, I don't even know what it is that you want. I have a super vague idea, but we're speaking two different languages. So let's just try to dumb this down. And so if that person were to come to with me with AI and be like, hey, does this make sense to you? And I'd look at it like, that makes perfect sense to me. Yes, the AI deciphered your gobbledygook and figured out what it is that you want. Now we can actually get somewhere. I think there's a lot of opportunity for AI to help streamline and translate gobbledygook into legible language.
I 100% agree. I have one question that I asked each and every one of my returning guests, and you are actually the third time already in the podcast. And the question is, what have you learned outside of Bitcoin since your last appearance?
Well, that I suck at storytelling, and there's a lot of room to improve there. I maybe not suck, but definitely a lot of room to improve.
I wouldn't say suck, because storytelling is also the ability to speak on this podcast as a guest to a certain extent. And I see the metrics, and people really like listening to you. So, you definitely don't suck.
Well, good. I'm hoping that I don't know how I'm going to try and go about selling this book or doing what I want to do, because my goal with storytelling and writing and now narration has been number one, above and all, to just to be able to pay my bills. I'm not trying to dethrone J.K. Rowling or Stephen King or anything like that. I'm not trying to be the next. I've got every movie coming. Like I just want to be able to make a like half my income. Even that's not even like all of my income. That's, I think, a good starting spot. So I don't know. Yeah, maybe this is a good start with this Bitcoin book. We'll see. Like I said, it's directed at a very specific audience. So if you don't know about Bitcoin, you're gonna have to do some research. But if you do know about Bitcoin, then this is all going to be old news to you, and you won't feel like I'm sitting here and like, I want to explain the blockchain to you. You're like, oh God, just get on with the story, guy.
I like that, and I'm excited for it to being out. And once it's there, maybe we can have you on a fourth time. I'm already looking forward to it. We have, as you know, an end routine in the podcast where the previous guest is asking a question for the next guest without knowing who the next guest actually is. Mm-hmm. The previous guest asked you the question: How have your social alignments changed? Gosh, my English. After you became a Bitcoiner, basically, how has your social circles, social ecosystem around you changed since you become a Bitcoiner, if at all?
No, I wouldn't say it had. Like, I don't have a whole bunch of Bitcoin friends or something like that. I've definitely been introduced to people like yourself and the Simply crew and the Mining Disrupt crew and things like that. The things that I guess are a little bit obvious. I see more people in the world that that question things, and I'd say that is one similarity with most Bitcoiners. Not all, because nowadays you've got people that they're just in it for the money. But I'd say early day Bitcoiners, who many of them are still in, they question the status quo, and they're like, is that really how it should be? You're telling me that I should put my money into a 401k and just be a diversified stock portfolio and bonds and this and that and that's the best way to maintain my time and energy? I don't know about that. So seeing people that question things is good, and having more people like that around, even if it's at an arm's length through X, then that's still more than none, and that's good.
Critical thinking is something that like really improves with Bitcoin. Like not improve, maybe it starts a process of you starting to critical think. It was not maybe necessary with me, but I saw it with some other people where once one thing that you really believed in, like the money, breaks, and you think like, oh, okay, it's not like I learned it in school. Then all of a sudden you're like, oh, is that also not true? And like it can foster critical thinking to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Really cool. Thank you so much, Del, for being on. Before I let you go, where can people find you, ask you questions, and maybe see about your book?
Yeah, you can find me on X. It's my first and last name, Delio Pera. Just that, and nothing fancy, no special characters, anything. You can find me on YouTube weekly doing a show, some shorts on the Mining Disrupt channel, And then if you are interested in Warhammer 40K stories, you can find me on the channel Pera 9. It's my last name with the number like 9. So PERANINE. And I have been releasing a Warhammer story every Tuesday. And I just sit there and I narrate it. And if you want to go there and listen to that and give me feedback on my narration, please do. And yeah, I guess those would be the main spots.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Del, for being on. And also thank you so much for everyone that is watching and listening for joining us today. As always, I'll be back tomorrow with another episode. Bye-bye. This content is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute financial advice.